Hello again, and welcome back to your favorite podcast. This is Pilot Pass. My name is Matthew Pizana. I am a co-host here on the show, and with me, as always, is my other co-host, Dell. Don't call me lady.
That's right. Call me master host, I believe is the term we agreed upon. I thought.
I think we agreed on master, but I think there was some other things after that.
Okay, as long as we got our safe word.
Today we are talking WandaVision.
That's right.
WandaVision is the new show from HBO. It is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, only on TV form.
Wait, is it HBO or Disney Plus?
It's Disney Plus. Why would you say HBO, Dell? What a liar you are.
What? I'm getting good at my voices, though, aren't I?
Yes. What a good voice that you drew for me. Disney Plus is where the show is at.
Who owns Marvel, by the way? So I don't know how you got that
kind of makes sense, but I don't. Batman is like some other place now too. I don't know about.
Yeah, who knows anymore?
It's all segmented. WandaVision is a show that I'm interested to talk to you about. The pilot episode is called "Filmed Before a Live Studio Audience," and I think that gives you a nice little indication about this first episode. Dell, let's start first. Tell the people what WandaVision in general is all about.
Okay, so let's assume that you have a basic understanding of the MCU or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Wanda is basically the Scarlet Witch from all the movies of the Avengers series, and Vision is the Vision from the series. It's also based on a long-running comic story arc where Wanda makes up a fake version of her world, and she has children in that world. But it turns out she was manipulated by another character into creating this world, and she kind of wished her kids into existence and then back out of existence again. So that is its place kind of in the MCU. This is a branch off of the MCU in the sense that it's a television version, just like they did with the guy that got murdered in the very first Avengers, and everybody's like, no, Coulson. But then they brought him back for the TV show that nobody really watched. So it's a TV spinoff from the show.
That one on ABC, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't keep up with it. I watched the pilot and I was a little disappointed. But as we all know, the TV shows can be a little more hit or miss than the cinematic universe. But WandaVision was an interesting take because it starts right in the middle of a dream world, almost like Pleasantville. The show starts in black and white. It's almost an homage. Well, it is an homage to the Dick Van Dyke Show and the Honeymooners and classic TV sitcoms from like the 50s. And that's what we're watching in this pilot episode is a black and white 50s show about the Scarlet Witch, who doesn't know that she's in this black and white world, and Vision, who doesn't know why he's in this black and white world. And both their memories have been wiped. And only we as Marvel viewers know that these people are in a world that they're not normally in. To them, this is their world.
The strange thing about it is my memory was not wiped, and I still don't know why we're in this world.
The only thing that I can remember is that something in the Avenger movies, Vision dies in the movies during Infinity Wars and doesn't come back. And Wanda, I think that they're trying to start in medias res because they want to show that she's already been kind of captured or has put herself in this fake world. And we don't know if maybe she's brought Vision back in this 50s idyllic paradise, just, only in her mind, or if somehow he has been brought back through this world. One of the most interesting things is, if you remember Scarlet Witch in the shows, her and her brother, not Quicksilver, or was it Quicksilver? I can never remember. But her brother, the running fast gray guy. Anyway, they're from the Eastern Bloc. They're from Russia. And her accent diminishes through each movie until in this one, she's full American. But the town they live in is called Westview, I believe, which would be her idea of what the West would have been like. Because in Soviet Russia, around the time that the Avengers take place, this is when they would have been watching TV shows from the 50s in black and white. So this is almost Wanda's idealized version of America as seen through the eyes of a dystopian Russian.
Everything that you just said was news to me. I didn't know any of that. And so maybe that would have changed my opinion, but probably not of what I actually saw. So this first episode, live before a studio audience, was this idea of a 50s sitcom that was live in front of a studio audience. I really think that they even shot this literally in front of a live studio audience.
They and they also use a lot of practical effects, which would have been things like from Bewitched, where they would just, you know, cut they do a quick cut where, you know, where something would be there and then it would pop out of frame, and you know, where they'd hang strings and have stuff float. So she's very much has her still magical powers, and Vision has his capabilities, only they're rendered in a that very in a real sense that 50s way of doing special effects, in the same way they would have done it in something like Bewitched, or, you know, a show like that.
Or
And
like
the show, if you didn't know any
Ed,
better,
when he
go ahead.
slides into home when he's playing for the Dodgers, same thing.
Yes, there you go, exactly. And even the homage to Dick Van Dyke, where he trips over the ottoman, there's kind of a little joke in the beginning that he tries to carry Wanda through the door, and he dematerializes through the door, and she gets dropped on the ground. And then once they're inside, he's about to, you know, crash into the chair or the ottoman again, but this time she uses her magic to augment it. So it's playing with the fact that it's almost like a Bewitched type show. But if you were to just sit down and watch this, not knowing anything about the Marvel universe, you could very easily assume you were watching something from Nick at Night, because even the font is designed to look like the Dick Van Dyke Show. There's the studio audience, there's the neighbor next door who comes crashing in to, you know, always loan you something or borrow something. The Ethel to Lucy, who's always there needing something. You know, and even Vision goes to work and he's, you know, robot, but he has to change into being a man. Now he's played by Paul Bettany, and Paul Bettany during the movies. Obviously, he's the guy normally in makeup. I like that in the show they have him in makeup, and then he has to go out of makeup to be in makeup to go do this job at a human office, where he has no idea what they're actually doing there at all, which is an interesting take, because a lot of 50 shows that centered around the household, you know, the Leave It to Beaver, even Dick Van Dyke, I Love Lucy, they didn't really focus on what the guys did when they went off to work. You know, they just went off to do businesses. They businessed a lot. And then they would come home and have interactions with the family. Even All in the Family did that. So it's really funny that when you go to cut the Vision at work, he's like, what do we do here? Like, what is it we make? Like, even he's unsure of that 50s trope.
So the pilot episode encompasses all that. The conceit of the episode is there is a heart on their calendar at the house, but neither can remember what the heart actually is for. It's just like the old tropes where nobody wants to admit that they don't know what they're talking about, because God forbid it's a birthday or a wedding anniversary, and then they would be very embarrassed. So hijinks ensues trying to figure out what the heart is all about.
Or where the husband would pretend to forget the anniversary, and then the wife would get mad, but then not the husband actually did remember the whole time. But the heart, it turns out, is a reminder that his boss, Mr. Hart, is coming over for dinner that night, and it was shorthand. And so since both of them kind of have their memories wiped, they don't have any idea what, you know, it's kind of interesting because you can look at the calendar and see what company made it. You can see that it even has an advertisement for All a Girl Wants is Color Television, which was interesting because color TV wouldn't be invented for a couple of years after the show takes place in what year it takes place in. So they wouldn't have even known to put an advertisement for color television in that calendar. So there's a lot of Easter eggs in the show that kind of demonstrate that this is a false reality. And like I said, they do most of the effects practical. So the basic plot is they get up in the morning, they see there's a heart on the calendar. Neither one can really remember what it is. They assume it's their anniversary of something, maybe them getting together, maybe them being married, maybe just something else in general. Vision goes off to work. He runs into Mr. Hart, who's the normal bossy boss guy, you know, Fred Flintstone's boss, you know, Mr. Spacely, that kind of guy. And he's supposed to come over for dinner, but he's the real Americana boss kind of guy, where he'll fire somebody for not being American enough. You're single, you're probably not good for the office. Yeah, you listen to liberal radio, you're probably not good for the office. You need a man's man. And so Vision and Wanda have to prepare a special meal for the Hearts to impress his boss to keep his job. Now, meanwhile, Wanda apparently has never made a meal before in this universe. So she calls upon the nosy neighbor, Catherine Hahn from next door.
And the best part of this pilot episode, by the way.
And if you remember Parks and Rec, she plays the sleazy politician who helps Paul Rudd get elected, or attempts to get Paul Rudd elected, and then offers Ben Wyatt a job. So not Joan Calamazaro, but she's the girl that goes, Poncho. That's her from Parks and Rec. So she does a great job of seeming slimy, but always asking questions, but she comes over and she brings 3 fully cooked meals. They have like chicken, and then they have, pies and a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, all of it gets ruined. And so as the Hearts are about to storm out and leave, Wanda magically makes the breakfast from earlier that morning float out to the table, and they have breakfast for dinner. Mr. Hart ends up having a heart attack. And so for just that moment, everything kind of breaks down, that they quit using practical effects and they cut to digital CGI, where she goes, help him, Vision. And she recognizes that, her character at least recognizes that he's not her husband in that sense. Something clicks with her, and Vision gets on the floor and reaches Matrix style into Mr. Hart's throat, through like a ghost, and pulls out the clog, whatever's in his throat, and saves him from choking. And you would think they'd be like, oh, wow, amazing. What was that? Nope. The Hearts just get him and say, well, thank you for a lovely night. Look at the time. We got to go. And everything just seems off. And as it should, because by the end of the episode, the credits start to roll, and it seems just like a normal 50s black and white, credit crawl with them leaning on each other, lovey-dovey. But then as we slowly pan out, we go from the 3:4 ratio, which the entire show has been in the entire time, the old standard TV format, that's almost a square. And as it pulls back, it becomes a longer aspect ratio, which we associate with modern cinema and widescreen TV today. And we see that someone else is watching this show on a smaller black and white screen in a larger color widescreen format. And one of the things in the background that is teased is that there's a logo for what's called SWORD. And if you know anything about the MCU or Marvel in general, SHIELD is the group of that protects America and the world from the outside forces. They're a defensive group. SWORD is the group that's out in space looking to defend Earth from extraterrestrials, and possibly even going after and containing extraterrestrials. So most people don't know that SHIELD has a counterpart, SWORD, that is an offensive position to SHIELD's defensive position. And Nick Fury, of course, runs SHIELD, Sam Jackson. But that's only hinted at in a little on the second monitor off to the side, as we see somebody put down their pencil after taking notes while watching the show. And so it's revealed that this is a show within a show at the very end of episode 1.
I didn't really feel like there was something that caught my attention in this first episode. I felt like it was just a 1-to-1 remake of a 1950s sitcom with, like, she balances the plates and everything else and puts them up, and that's really about it. And I didn't really understand the purpose or the point.
Right. And I think that's kind of one of my complaints too. I did enjoy the show, but only because I knew a little more about what to expect from it. If I sat down and watched this with no idea of who Wanda, Vision, Marvel, any of that, there's only really 3 hints to give you any kind of clue that this is not a normal show that comes on at Nick at Night. The very first time is when they cut the fake commercials, but the commercials look real enough and they're in black and white. But even though it's in black and white, there's one red blinking dot on the toaster oven that they're selling, and it's in color. And if the whole thing's supposed to be originally in black and white, why would they add that one dot of red? And here's something interesting. Most people don't know is toaster has been used as a derogatory term for robots for about 60 years. It's been kind of thrown around as a joke in sci-fi. So anytime you call something a toaster, you're implying that basically it's just a functioning robot. It doesn't really have any kind of intelligence. It's not an intelligent robot. It's just an uppity toaster. And even in the comics, Wanda calls Vision Toaster as like a little playful pet name. And so even if you know that, then you kind of start to get some of the joke. If you don't, just the fact that there's a little red dot blinking and the toaster happens to look like the shape of a face is a little indication that, wait a second, why is there color in a black and white show? Then obviously when they pull out at the end, it changes from black and white to color. And then the aspect ratio changes from 3:4 to, I think it's 1.85 by 1, something like that. And those are the only three things in the pilot that would give you any clue. Well, I guess, I'm sorry. And when Vision saves Mr. Hart, they clearly use a modern CGI effect for him to reach through his throat and pull it out, when they could have just had him, they could have done it any number of ways practically. So those are the four things that make you go, wait a minute, I'm not watching an actual 1950s show. And I think the whole idea was the pilot was supposed to look entirely like one and just barely make you go, well, now what? Something's off, until that end shot where it pulls back and it's revealed as a show within a show. And then I think that's where they were like, okay, now episode 2, get on board. We're going to start telling you the story. Literally, this is one of the few shows that the first episode was almost entirely world building. That was it.
Well,
They don't really give you any of the characters or anything.
That they decided to do the first 2 episodes whenever they dropped it. Now, I have not seen the second episode. I didn't want to watch it until we actually talked, because I want to just keep my
I actually haven't seen it either.
That pilot episode. But it kind of seemed like maybe they should have put those 2 together.
I think that's why they dropped them together, because I think what they wanted to do was keep it as I think they wanted to keep the pilot as an actual standalone world building show and give you just enough that as soon as you were done, you went, we got to watch episode 2, right? I mean, that was just weird.
Yet neither one of us did.
But we didn't. Well, because we do a show on this. We're professionals, Matt. Come on. I'm just not going to go, slam through binge watching everything. And certainly not Walker. We'll get to that later. But I think that's why they dropped the first 2 at once, is they expected people to watch both episodes together. But one of them filmed and possibly because they were directed and written separately, maybe they just wanted them treated as 2 separate episodes. But I could have easily seen this as an hour-long, intermission, and then it comes back. But I think by finalizing the first episode with credits and then a second credit sequence where it pulls out, I think that's cool, because it almost feels like a Black Mirror, Twilight Zone episode, where now that you get it, you get to go, oh, they're going to continue that Twilight Zone story. They're going to continue that. Interesting.
Did you have a favorite part to this pilot episode?
Probably when Vision is at work and he is worried that his boss is going to find out he's a machine. He says, you can't have any skeletons in your closet. He's like, oh, don't worry, I don't have any skeletons. Or he's like, well, you got a screw loose? He's like, oh no, sir, all my screws are tight. It was just nice little tongue in cheek to see Vision kind of have being played for humor when he normally wasn't in the shows. And really the neighbor next door, Catherine Hahn, is hilarious. Let's be fair. I like when she appears and stuff. She's smarmy in a way that I really, really like. One other thing is that most of the lines she delivers can be interpreted a second way if she's responsible, or at least is knowledgeable about the fact they're being held in a fake world. For instance, when she introduces herself, she says charmed, as in you're being charmed. Mm-hmm. And the magazine they're reading is called Glamorous, which is obviously a play on glamour, but glamour means to also put up a false image of something in order to deceive. So I think there were a lot of in jokes that once you maybe got through episode 2 or 3 or knew about kind of the storylines from the comics, you're going to go, oh, funny, very funny. Got it. Nice little Easter egg. Got it. Look at that joke. But I don't think you were intended to get that if this was a first come. This is your first time sitting at the dinner table.
Speaking of glamour, When I post this episode, can we have all your glamour shot photos so I can put some up on the Instagram with this?
Yes. Yes, I do still have it. I was looking back through my senior yearbook picture the other day, and I realized they had cropped me down to just my spiky hair that I had back then and like part of my guitar that I'm holding.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's weird. And then I found the original picture, and I realized that I'm sitting in a little tiny red flyer wagon, and I'm in plaid pants, a ripped t-shirt, spiky hair, like 90s punk, holding my guitar. And that was supposed to be my senior picture. And I don't know if wisely or not, they decided to just trim it down to my face.
I did not take senior pictures, so I missed out on that.
The kid got a good kick out of that one. Yeah.
It's hard to compare this to other episodes or other shows because I would say it's very unique. The ideas, the thoughts, at least the approach to it. But I do think that there's, you've talked about some of the shows that it's like, especially with the first episode, but I want to let's talk about some really random older shows that this might be like. Let's talk about maybe not even black and white. How about WKRP in Cincinnati? Do you think that we'll be able to get an ensemble cast in this show and be like that?
I don't think that it's going to be like that. In fact, I think it's directly, what it's not trying to do is be a workplace situation comedy like The Office, Parks and Rec, I can never remember the letters.
Nailed it.
The WLRP.
Yes.
I don't think it's that. I don't even think it's the Mary Tyler Moore Show, because it's not about just one character making it in the world, or even it's Laverne and Shirley. I think it is specifically about the husband and wife duo team and their home life in this fake world in the 50s. So I think that's more what it's going to intentionally be. Now, I think as we go, it'll break out of that mold. And I think as the world maybe starts to fall apart, the one show, I said it before, but that this really reminded me of was Pleasantville. The film Pleasantville, where Tobey Maguire and White Lady McGee are, why can't I think of her name all of a sudden? Anyway, they get sucked into a television show in the 50s. Reese Witherspoon. There we go. And it's not until they start kind of introducing the concept of sex and individuality and naughtiness that Pleasantville starts becoming filled with color. And the town of Pleasantville, which just has a loop that goes around the city, opens up to other parts of, I guess, TV or movie world. And that it's a breaking apart of expectations and cultures from the 50s by introducing more modern characters to it. And that this very much feels like it's a play on Pleasantville.
Who has the better special effects, WandaVision or The Incredible Hulk?
What do you mean, the movie The Incredible Hulk?
No, sir, the TV show.
Oh my God. Okay. I was thinking, or the character, The Incredible Hulk.
Bruce Banner, baby. Bill Bixby.
I gotta say, since it's got to be Wanda, only because they can both do the practical, but then I guess the WandaVision can also do the CGI.
I do still own the greatest episode of TV ever, The Incredible Hulk versus, was it Flash? Was that who it was? Yes, Flash.
Was it the guy running fast, or was he wearing a suit that said S on it?
Well, he had the silly hat on, like the Z hat.
Okay, that would be the Flash.
Okay, yeah.
Unless it was Dr. Zoom, who also runs fast and has a Z, or Professor, or maybe it's Dr. Z. I don't know. I don't know all the characters, Matt. But yeah, that sounds like the Flash. But the thing the Flash is DC, and the Hulk is Marvel. So that seems weird. Quicksilver's their version of the Flash. So now, you know what? Marvel and DC have done crossovers. So I'm not going to say no to this one. I'm just saying that sounds like two universes crossing that could basically cause a second Big Bang.
I make things up sometimes too,
if I know my cosmology.
We have discussed WandaVision. We have talked back and forth. You seem very passionate about it. I less so. So our answers to this question seem to be pretty obvious. But I want to ask you, Del, would you recommend film before a live studio audience to the people to watch?
I would say if you're already invested in the Marvel universe or the Marvel comics and know anything about it, yes. If you're interested, if you liked Pleasantville, yes. If you're interested in a breakdown or critique of that exact type of sitcom from the 50s, the family life around the household, then you might have an interest, but that's only based on the pilot, not having any idea where it goes. I would say would be the only interest. If you're just wanting to sit down and watch a nice Dick Van Dyke show, then no, this show probably isn't for you. And if you have no interest in the Marvel universe whatsoever, no, I don't think this is going to be your up, up your alley. But I gotta admit, I'm at least a little intrigued. And again, I only know these characters tangentially. Like, these aren't my favorite characters. I only know some of these storylines because I've researched them before to read about other characters that I liked and to get some background on the show and other things. So, I've read very few Vision and Wanda comics. But there was one where they did have a idyllic family household with 2 kids, and it was called something like The Vision at Home or something like that. And this very much seems to be a take on that. But I'm interested to only at least see an episode or 2 more to see where this is going. But I would say that would be the only reason. Maybe give it a couple of episodes if you like it the first season. Who knows after the first season if you'll be interested anymore.
I cannot believe we got through a weird family sitcom discussion without talking about the Pits. I definitely think we failed as podcast host without, again, bringing up that great, wonderful show that we talked about in season 1.
I also think that this has a real legacy that it owes to the Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer. But again, we'll have to wait till that episode to really show how that show influenced really all of television.
I did enjoy this to a point. I didn't think that there was anything new or original. I felt like that you just basically redid a 50s sitcom. That being said, I am very interested in seeing the next episode. I want to see what they're doing because I know it's obviously not going to be like this the whole time.
Yeah, I think that was the point, and I think that's kind of where some people turned off and some people got turned on, is that I think it is supposed to be an episode of Bewitched that you could have just flicked on and caught had you not caught a few of the weird little things that were buried in there. I bet by episode 2, I bet they already start introducing some things that really ratchet up. I bet they break that mold immediately starting in episode 2 if I had to take a guess.
I thought you were going to start talking about Nurse Ratched. You got me all excited there for a minute. You just said Ratchet, though. That's okay.
They don't. Wait, did they have a TV show that? Weren't they going to do a TV show?
I think they were. I don't know if it ever happened. Ooh, that's kind of scary. Kind of scary. Well, that was WandaVision, again, on Disney Plus. I don't know why Dale said it was on HBO because obviously it's on Disney Plus.
That I said that. I can't believe that. The VHOs.
You can go watch that now. I believe there's 3 or 4 episodes up at this moment, so you can catch up and see what's going on in the Wanda world. Dell, tell the people where they can find us this year if they want to or if they don't.
Well, we're going to be putting up the website soon.
Was that a question?
For the blogs? Yes. Yeah, I'm asking you.
Yes.
So what is the domain name for that?
Pilot Pass Pod.
Okay, pilotpasspod.com will be the main place to go very soon for all the interactions. That'll direct you to all the social medias. Right now, Patreon, just search Pilot Pass. YouTube, we can even be heard on there, Pilot Pass. Twitter is Pilot Pass Pod. Instagram and Facebook are also Pilot Pass. On all your podcasting apps, you should just type Pilot Pass. It might pop right up. If it doesn't, just add Pullen and Pizana to the end of it. It'll definitely pull up. That's really where to find us right now. We could really use some help, obviously, on Patreon. We're trying to collect money so that we can start creating some merchandise. And of course, for that, you get a few bonus features. One is the video of Matt and I having the conversation right now. For instance, behind Matt, there's a picture of WandaVision. Behind me, there's a picture of me in a gold flake tuxedo.
Yeah, jacket. we've upgraded this year. So video.
So one of the other things
we're
going to start doing is, for instance, we're obviously on the blog, we're going to start posting pictures, but you're going to see a picture of Princess Zelda that I got for Christmas, done as a painting where she's a royal princess. That's my cat. But also on shows, I've noticed this that I love. I barely take notes at all. It just tends to kind of stick in my head, or I enjoy it, so I end up watching it. And shows that I don't care for particularly, I tend to take copious amounts of notes on. So I'm going to start scanning those so that people can see what my actual notes look like. I've had some people express interest in that. So I'm going to start scanning. I think we still have Cobra Kai and Veep. So I'll try to scan and get those up on the blog coming up soon.
Excellent. Is there anything else to leave the people with?
No, just leave. We're done here.